Guys, welcome back to the Puck and Ball podcast. I'm Evan. Miles, Michael, and Matt join me as always. Great weekend in football. Let's talk college football before we get to NFL. Controversial one to say the least. Committee definitely made a statement with their 4 teams in the college football playoff. So, simple question: did they get it right or wrong? Michael, you start, and then we'll go around. Talk to me.
I think they got it wrong. I think Florida State should have been in. I just feel like they're inconsistent with their logic because if you're going by better team, then Georgia should be ranked above FSU. I also disagree because Texas was ranked above FSU before this week, and I know FSU didn't look great, but I'm just not sure Texas should have jumped that far ahead of FSU, and I think they only did that because they wanted Bama in and they needed Texas in over Bama because they beat them. I don't know. I just think it's a lot of like maneuvering just to do an opinion based ranking. I really thought FSU should have been in because of their resume, and it just sucks that they went 13-0 as a Power 5 and were left out.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think they got it completely wrong. And I thought FSU should have been in it. And it looked like they were going off best teams, but like they're pretty inconsistent because I thought the best 4 teams were like Michigan, Georgia, Alabama, and Ohio State. Like if you were going off of that,
State.
I agree.
Really?
If they're going off that,
so you would take Ohio State over Texas and Washington in a matchup?
It would be close. I think all 3 of those are close, but I definitely agree that Georgia, Alabama, and Michigan.
I agree Georgia as well, yeah.
But they did like a mix of like best teams and like
most deserving.
Yeah, like schedule and most deserving. But I feel like FSU kind of just fit all of them, and like they didn't have a hard schedule, I guess, but like they were 13-0 in a conference championship. Like what else do you need them to do? And then just to add on to like what Michael said, like I feel like they are basing they looked at FSU as they did for the last game they played, even though their backup quarterback Rodemaker, he would have played in a month.
Mm-hmm.
So like I feel like it was kind of unfair for them to evaluate them based on their third string quarterback.
Their offense wasn't good at Florida either. I understand stuff happens, but I just want to. I mean, before I get to the FSU thing, I just think the system's just completely broken. You have 5 Power 5 conferences. I mean, this is the first time in a while each Power 5 champion has been deserving of a spot. So it just caused chaos all over the spot. When you have 4 spots, I mean, this is bound to happen. 5 conferences, 4 spots, it's bound to happen. I mean, Dan Orlovsky, my favorite, said it this morning or yesterday. He goes, the only right answer was making an emergency 6-team bracket. Like there was no right answer. Someone was bound to be upset, but I don't know if FSU deserved to get in. I think they got it right. I think if we're talking 4 best teams, I think they got the 4 best in there, maybe Georgia. But, I mean, it's in the protocol. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but I'm sure you've heard it enough. But the broken record that I've been hearing is availability of a player that can harm the future performance. And Jordan Travis is a Heisman candidate. I mean, if we're talking about availability, most important player on the most important position on the best team or top 4 team. You know what I mean? I mean, it's just
Yeah, I get it. And I think I would obviously rather play FSU than Bama as a Michigan fan. So, like, in that case, they got it right because Bama's better. But it's just, I don't know. They're just inconsistent with their reasoning. And, like, Alabama struggled with a bunch of teams in the regular season. They struggled with Auburn the week before the conference championship. So it's just like at that point when there's so much up for debate, you just got to give the benefit of the doubt to the team with the better record and still.
Yeah. And like Alabama was like they were one lucky play away from like not even being in the conversation.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like literally one play. And FSU, like they clearly deserved it, I thought.
Yeah. And this is just way better from like a viewing standpoint, at least. Like morally, maybe they got the wrong decision based off the rankings, and I agree it's unfair for FSU, but like this, it's good that it's moving to a 12-team playoff next year, and like good teams will be in because I don't think there's not a big separation between number 4 team and the 6th team, so it's gonna be exciting to see like everyone playing.
For sure, I think anyone in the top 6 can fight against each other is what I'm trying to say. But as for the FSU and Alabama, I think the whole big thing FSU is they beat LSU, but so did Bama. Like that's their big win. Alabama has the number 1 team in the nation, 29 straight wins, back-to-back national champions in Georgia. They beat them. They control the game. They controlled the game the whole time, and FSU struggles a little bit with a Louisville team that put up 6 points. I mean, it's just it was a terrible situation for them. I mean, someone was bound to get upset, like I said, and it happened to be the FSU fan base. But there's really not much more to say. Let's pick the 2 semifinals games. We got Michigan, Bama, Washington, Texas. Let's start with Michigan. Miles and Michael, you guys start us off. Michigan, Bama. Who do we got? I'm assuming Michigan.
Miles, go ahead.
Yeah, I got Michigan. I feel like Bama's kind of being overrated a little bit because they beat Georgia, but like I've been watching them the whole season. Like they almost lost to USF, who's like known to be one of the worst.
That's a while ago, dude.
Still, like
it's a while ago.
Like this
Michigan
season,
never struggled with anyone.
Yeah,
you're right.
I mean, it's this season. It counts towards like their record and their schedule. So like, I feel like they struggle against USF. They struggle against an average Auburn team. I don't feel like they're like that good, and I think Michigan wins.
Yeah, I'm gonna have Michigan as well. Milroe's mobility and their offensive line scares me a ton because I think the best defensive plays we had against Ohio State were when we got pressure on McCord, and good things happen obviously when you get pressure. So I think if we struggle to get pressure, it could be a long day for our defense. They do tend to give up some long drives against good offenses occasionally, but they also make a lot of big plays, and like Sanderson seems to get a turnover every play. So if we create turnovers, that's going to be huge. And then on offense, I think Alabama's defense isn't as good as some of the defenses we face. I think they're worse than Iowa, they're worse than Ohio State, and they're worse than Penn State on the defensive side of the ball. So I think our offense will be able to move the ball, and obviously our run game is insane. So I think it's going to be a similar game to the Ohio State one. Every possession is going to matter, back and forth. And at the end of the day, I would take Michigan to come out on top.
So well done pick. Very, very up. Well done. Matt, go ahead.
I'm taking Bama. I think they're the inferior team, but just that play they had versus Auburn, like that's just destiny. And the fact that they snapped Georgia's 29, I think it was 28 or 29 game win streak.
Yeah.
I just feel they had momentum, and even though Michigan's been facing the adversity and the big win versus Ohio State, I just trust Nick Saban. He's the best coach in college football of all time. Bama always finds a way to win.
Yeah. I got Bama too. Matt said it. Saban, not only Saban, but I think Miro provides a different challenge that Michigan hasn't really seen. Big Ten doesn't really have that mobile quarterback, the dual threat quarterback. I mean, you guys watch more Big Ten football than me. Is there anyone like him?
The Rutgers quarterback is probably the closest thing we've seen.
And he's terrible.
And then they got Trey Burton on the outside. I mean, I don't. Yeah. If also, what's the running back McMillan? If he plays, he was out against Georgia and they still won. I mean, it's just that'll be a great game. But I got Bama, Saban, and Milroe get the job done. Let's go Texas, Washington, 2-3 matchup. Who do we got, Michael?
I have actually Washington in this one. I think Texas is a great team and is arguably the better team, but I feel like Washington, like Matt said with Alabama, just like a team of destiny. Like we all thought Oregon was gonna. Well, I at least thought Oregon was gonna beat Washington by double digits, and they proved us all wrong. Like Pennick said, they wrote us off. But he's great, and Odunze's great, and their offense is fun to watch. So I think, and I could just like picture a Michigan versus Washington championship. I don't know if that makes sense, but. I can't picture a Michigan versus Texas championship, so that's part of the reason.
So Michigan's already in the finals.
No, in my situation of picking Michigan to beat Bama, on the other side, Michigan versus Texas doesn't seem right in like a national championship game, so I'm picking Washington.
I got Texas. It's because I think Quinn Ewers. I think he's the best quarterback in that game. I think. Their offense is elite. I think their defense will be able to keep up with the Washington offense, which Washington really hasn't seen really this whole season. Like Oregon, I guess, has a pretty good defense, but like I don't think they're on Texas's level. And Washington's used to like scoring 30 plus a game. I just feel like they're not gonna be able to do that this game, and they're gonna maybe like fall behind and like kind of panic.
I agree with everything Michael said. I'm taking Washington, the whole destiny thing. And also, I agree. I thought Oregon was going to blow them out. But the fact that this was their second time beating them this season just shows, it just wasn't a fluke. Like, this team is real. Yeah. So I'm taking Washington.
I got Texas, too, with Miles. I think AD Mitchell has a great game. If Xavier Worthy plays, then he'll go off as well. I do think Quinn Ewers. That's a conversation to be had. Quinn Ewers or Michael Penix, the Heisman candidate. I don't know. It's they're both toss up games in my opinion. I mean, they're
Yeah.
two great games. Like if I mean, I hate to bring it back to the FSU, but I feel like if one of those teams, any one of these four teams played FSU, we're getting a Georgia TCU rematch or type of game. I don't think it's going to be a close game if FSU's in one of these semifinals. So, if we're talking about matchup wise, the committee did a great job. But
Yeah.
college football, peak, New Year's Day, it all goes down. But let's transition to the NFL. Big weekend. Eagles, Niners statement. Packers, Chiefs statement. Let's go back to power rankings as always. Michael, who do we got at 5? Talk to me.
Yeah, I have the Packers at 5. Realistically, it's not the Packers, but I had to put them in after their back-to-back wins against the Lions and Chiefs. I mean, their offense looks great. It feels like all of a sudden all the young guys have LaFleur's offense figured out and everything's clicking. LaFleur called a great game. I was kind of on the fire LaFleur train early in the season, but I completely have jumped off that. He's a great play caller. They had a it felt like eventually they were just going to go the run game, and it's like he calls play action every play, and it works every time. It's fun to watch. Jordan Love, obviously, like I've talked about him a bunch, but he made some great throws. The throw to Watson on the first touchdown was unreal. Stepping up in the pocket, throwing before he was even in sight was crazy, and then the defense it's not great. The Czech had a great game, but it's a lot of bend don't break. Like we get stops when we need to, we get turnovers when we need to, and that's not the most sustainable thing in the world. But it's been working lately, and the Packers are hopefully going to make a playoff push.
I mean, the Chiefs had 2 possessions in the first half, and they ended in field goals. A red zone penalty and a red zone sack. It's exactly bend don't break. Great job, Miles. Who do we got?
I got the Dolphins. They really haven't impressed me that much recently. I just have them there because their record is so good, and like they're one of the top teams in the AFC clearly. But like they haven't played a like average defense, I guess, or like slightly above average defense recently. Like they played the Raiders, who I think is kind of mid. I think who they just play the
We had
Commanders.
the Raiders, the Jets, and the Commanders.
Yeah, I mean Jets is a good defense actually,
34
but
points, baby.
I mean, and Tyreek Hill's looking like an MVP candidate. But I feel like they gotta play like another playoff team just to solidify themselves as like one of those Super Bowl contenders.
I also have the Dolphins at my 5 spot. I wrote the Dolphins off about not being a playoff team, but as I look at the standings right now, like they could possibly be the 1 seed because the AFC is so weak, which is shocking. I agree with Miles that they need to be like a contender. Tua needs to play like a good primetime game, but now I can kind of see them making a playoff run just because of the AFC's weak. Not as much that the Dolphins are so good.
Wow. I mean, there's no credit to be given from you. Dolphins are always bad, and it's never the Dolphins are good. It's always their
They're a
surroundings.
good team right now, but they're beating up the Commanders. Giants beat the Commanders.
The Eagles
twice.
barely beat the Commanders twice. Division game, I know it's different, but still.
I mean, we can't really compare because the Eagles lost to the Jets, and the Jets are not better than the Eagles.
True. Good point. That's a good point. I got the Ravens at 5. I think the Mark Andrews injury holds them back a little bit. I don't know. I just don't really. The teams I have, it's not that they're a bad team. I think the teams above them are just better. So, simple reasoning. But, Michael, continue on with 4. What do we got?
I have the Dolphins. I feel like every week I'm starting to respect them a little bit more. Their defense was kind of my big concern at the beginning of the year, but ever since Ramsey's been back, it's been really good. Obviously, the Phillips injury hurts, but they still have a great defense, and on offense, like you just can't guard Tyreek. It's really unreal. It feels like every time I'm watching Red Zone, he gets like a 80-yard touchdown, and it just I don't understand how like you can't guard him. It's impossible. I think he should be the MVP, but he's not going to. And yeah, the Dolphins they might be the team to be in the AFC right now.
Oh yeah. Hell yeah.
At 4, I got the Jacksonville Jaguars. They've looked pretty impressive this season, except like that one game against the 49ers. Other than that, though, I feel like they've looked like one of the top teams in the AFC. And yeah, I think they're better than I think they're better than the Dolphins right now, but I think the Dolphins are more of a threat in the AFC. But it's just purely off of like their recent performance and their schedule, I guess. Trevor Lawrence is playing pretty well. Etienne is playing like a top 10, 15 running back right now. Their defense is pretty good, and I wouldn't be surprised if they make the AFC Championship.
Wow.
Bold.
Yeah.
I have the Cowboys at 4. I kind of put them in the same boat as the Dolphins, but I think they're in a bit of a worse situation because once it's the playoffs, they're just going to be playing better teams. I was definitely like impressed by Dak's performance versus the Seahawks, but that defense versus the Seahawks was
It's
really
bad.
bad, like shockingly bad.
Scary.
That's the most concerning part right now.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
why
I
I'm
think
their defense is bad.
Deron Bland, I mean, we're
Got
crazy.
hooked up, bro.
Yeah, but I mean,
I put on
I have
skates
to
a
put them
couple
in top
times.
5 just because of how they're performing on offense, but I don't think it's going to last for long.
I have the Dolphins at 4, like you said. The defense is just playing great. Sam Howell leads the league in passing. They held him to under 300 yards passing, which is great. That offense, obviously, I don't really need to talk about it. HN came back, 2 tutties as always. Hill with a tutty, Mostert with a tutty. Everyone's scoring. Everyone that needs to score. Jalen Phillips' injury is devastating, but Van Ginkel hops right into a spot, gets a pick 6. So, I mean, who knows? I mean, the Ramsey, it cannot be understated. The difference in play, in stats and play, and just overall impact of that defense is just out of this world. They're averaging like the second least points against and yards against with Ramsey on the field. It's just out of this world, and I completely disagree. I think they're top 5 Super Bowl favorites with that defense and that offense. That combination is just great. McDaniel, dude, he's a stud, but he's just so fun to watch on Hard Knocks and all that. But I don't know, that team's just great. I'm a little biased, but I do think they're a top 4 team. Go ahead, Michael. I'll stop.
I have the Ravens slightly above the Dolphins at 3. The Andrews injury obviously is concerning, but I still trust Lamar and Zay Flowers to lead a to lead a good offense. And obviously, Mike McDonald, I think we talked about him last time. They've had a bye, so there's not much change to talk about them. But he's a great defensive coordinator, head coach candidate. Defense is unreal, and I'm a Lamar guy, so yeah. The Dolphins and Ravens top the AFC for me.
Do you think one has the edge of the other right now?
Yeah, I have the Ravens like slightly over them, just because of like who they beat in, similar to Miles' Jaguars reasoning. But like
week 17 is going to decide the AFC, in my opinion. Dolphins head to Baltimore.
Yeah,
I mean that's going to be
a great game.
If the Dolphins win that, I'll give them credit for beating a good team.
They have the Cowboys the week before that. I mean, the Dolphins' last 3 weeks are Cowboys, Ravens, Bills. So you'll be. I mean, you'll be able to. Yeah, you'll be able to tell right away if they're if they're a force to be reckoned with in the playoffs.
I think that's great for them.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I got the Ravens too at 3. You kind of said it, like they had a bye week, not much to say on them really. But I had them in a similar spot last week, so I'm just keeping them there. And I do think they're the best team in the AFC right now, and they're the team to beat.
Yeah, I also have the Ravens. Nothing really more I could say besides that Zay Flowers is going to be like a huge difference maker for that team. Michael predicted his high performance earlier in the year, but the fact that Mark Andrews is out. I mean, did you guys know this was 2 weeks ago? That 30-yard rushing touchdown, like he's the wide receiver that they're missing, or that they were missing in the past. So I agree. I have them slightly above the Dolphins.
I have the Cowboys at 3 just because of their offense. Dak's playing out of this world. Tony Pollard's starting to hit his stride. CD's a monster. Brandon Cooks is starting to look like a real wide receiver. Jake Ferguson's filling in at the tight end spot for Dalton Schultz. I mean, everything's cooking on offense. That defense is obviously scary, but I really don't see that happening again. 36 points given up. I do think it was a bit of a fluke performance, but I mean, I would not have thought I would say this early in the year, but I trust the offense and not the defense. Like earlier in the year, the defense is historic, and now it's the offense. It's a complete 180. But let's go to 2. I'm assuming we got Eagles, Niners, interchangeable for some people. But Michael, who do we got?
Yeah, I have the Eagles at 2. Their defense was really concerning against the Niners. Obviously, the Niners' offense looks great against every defense, but we've seen even Miles knows their defense struggles against a lot of teams. And on offense, they couldn't run the ball at all. DeAndre Swift kind of looks worse every single week, which is it's just.
All right, I'll talk about it, but yeah,
it's just like it's they have such a good offensive line. You would think they'd be able to run the ball a bit better, but they can't. And when you are just relying on big plays to AJ Brown and Smith, it could be hard to keep up with teams, especially when your defense is giving up so many points. It just obviously they're still great and they still have a great record. They lost to a great team, but they're going to have to beat the Niners in the playoffs. So if that's what they look like come playoff time, then
scary.
Yeah.
I got the Eagles too. It was a hard decision, but
I was not expecting that.
Yeah,
expecting that.
Yeah, I mean they obviously look terrible. And just to respond to you saying DeAndre Swift has kind of declined, and this is kind of my main point on why the Eagles, on like the main worry about the Eagles, it's mainly Brian Johnson and his play calling.
Yeah, the play calling is bad.
Every game, Eagles fans see like we win those big games from giving Swift like 20 plus carries, and like Swift had 6 carries in that game, which is just like
that's crazy.
It's awful. They abandoned the run completely.
They just got away from it. Yeah.
I saw they had 7 carries to someone not named Jalen Hurts. It's just they just abandon the run. You can't win a football game that well.
Yeah. And I mean the Eagles receivers just couldn't get open. I don't know if that's a route running issue or a Brian Johnson play calling issue, but that has to get fixed. I mean, I'm obviously not worried about them. They moved from the 1 seed to the 1 seed, so yeah. And I do not to make excuses, but like
here we go.
Eagles, it's just like a kind of like a reason, not an excuse, but like Eagles had three games in 14 days. Niners had 1 game in 10 days, and those 3 games were like debatably
emotional games.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and like you could debate they're like top 5, top 8 teams or whatever.
No, that makes sense.
Obviously, it was hard on the Eagles, so I'm not really worried about them right now. But obviously the secondary looked terrible. That has to get fixed somehow. I don't know. Like they just couldn't tackle. And then lastly, Nicholas Mora, the linebacker, he gave up like 150 plus yards passing. He just couldn't tackle either.
Shaq Leonard's coming in there, baby.
They got Shaq.
Yeah, I was gonna say Shaq Leonard hopefully can fix that, but I don't know how good he's going to be.
Yeah.
I feel like too much hype's going to him.
I agree.
He hasn't been the same guy he was a couple years back.
Yeah,
I agree, but like there's no risk.
It's a different guy. Yeah.
Morrow's
can't hurt.
Yeah.
Matt, what do we got? Eagles?
Yeah, Eagles. Nothing more I could say. Yeah, like I still think they're a top team, but like it's impossible for me to put them at 1 at that poor of a performance.
Yeah, I mean Eagles as well for me too. I do want to just on that game while we're at it. What do we think about Big Dom and Trey Greenlaw? That situation. What do we think?
Dom can't be getting involved with the playoffs.
That's my view. You can't pull Devontae Smith out of it. Don't go after Greenlaw, but
okay, but his job is the security guard
of the Eagles.
You want
of the Eagles.
You want Dre Greenlaw. You want him to just sit by while Dre Greenlaw like gets in his face and gets in the coach's face.
Well, this happens. This has like happened before in the past, but security.
Yeah, and you see coaches all the time like try and break up fights. Like, what's the difference? It's a security officer.
I didn't really see enough of it to be able to say anything.
I feel like people are overreacting and like it's not that big of a deal. And people are saying like he should never be on the sideline.
That's so aggressive and
like yeah.
Give him a little fine. Give him a little warning. Give him a little fine.
No, not even a fine. He's doing
call
his
it a
job.
day.
Give him a raise.
I think the NFL will. I think the NFL actually is going to punish him.
They're going to punish both of them. Yeah.
Look what they did to Tyreek's celebration guy.
Yeah, that was terrible.
Crazy. Yeah,
that is terrible.
Imagine what they're going to do to Dom.
Tyreek paid him the rest of his salary for the year.
Mm-hmm.
What a great guy. All right, let's go. We all got the Niners at 1. Anyone have anything groundbreaking to tell? We know they played great. Someone can touch on it if you want. But
I mean, I would just like to add, I feel like Brock Purdy's getting mentioned as like the MVP favorite. I feel like that's a little bit of an overreaction.
I don't think so. I know the Eagles' defense isn't that good, but in a game of that importance and that hype and that magnitude, if he goes out there and throws 300 yards and 4 tutties, he's obviously going to be thrown into the conversation.
It's like
Jalen Hurts didn't play.
I'll give you. Well, obviously the Eagles' secondary is terrible, and like any QB can play great against them. Like we've seen that Sam Howell and Zach Wilson. Like even Zach Wilson looked like a normal quarterback against the Eagles. But I saw this stat that he had 314 passing yards, 213 of those were yards after catch.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I think it's
Debo's like Debo and Ayuk are both like insane yard after catch people, and so is Kittle, and so is McCaffrey. Like their whole starting skill position players are insane at yards after catch, and I feel like Purdy's just like getting all the credit for that.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about this. I'm pretty sure I saw his passing chart. It was just all like around the first down line of scrimmage. I mean, and I just think I hate it so much that whoever's the quarterback on the best team or the hottest team is always the MVP favorite. This is kind of how I felt about Hurts. Obviously, Hurts is better than Purdy. It's not a discussion, but this is how I felt about Hurts. Now it's how I feel about Purdy. I just think we have to look, and the odds makers and the MVP voters have to look beyond like the team record and actually see what the quarterback's doing, how they're like, what their value is on that offense. And I think Dak Prescott is the most valuable quarterback for their offense.
I don't even think Purdy's the most valuable player on that offense.
Yeah,
we saw Trent Williams and Debo get out, and they go on a losing streak. Like I would take Debo over him for MVP. I would take Trent Williams, but obviously
Trent Williams.
That's not gonna. I actually would.
No, I probably would too, but it's just funny.
It's all scheme. It's all the players around him. It's not all okay, but like you know what I'm trying to say. Like Purdy is not adding like that. He's not MVP value to that offense. He's just not. I would take Tyreek and Dak as MVP over him.
Cool. I agree. I'm glad you touched on Tyreek, but let's transition to a new little segment. Would you rather? I'll give you guys a player as a baseline. You'll tell me would you rather the next guy over him. No reasoning, just give me the player. So Jordan Love edition to start. We got Jordan Love or Sam Howell?
Love.
Jordan Love or Russell Wilson?
Love. Russ is old.
Wilson.
I'm not saying for the future. I'm saying right now.
Oh. Yeah, right now, Wilson.
Right now.
Wilson.
Love. He had 3 picks.
I don't know, Michael.
I think Wilson.
I don't know. Anyone want to fight it out?
Do you watch the Broncos games? I'm sorry, I just have to say it. Like I like the Broncos, but
he did not play good. He did not play good.
He had a horrible game.
I mean, he had 1 interception in the last 6 games, and then he had 3. Like I understand.
I just trust Wilson more. Like I feel like he'll give you good games more consistently than Jordan Love.
Like I can't just.
I also don't know if we've. I don't know if we've seen Love perform well enough for a longer period of time. Like I think
it's fair. I think it's close. Obviously, I'd take Love. I just think the Broncos like rely a lot on their run game and short passing game. It's not like Russ isn't doing that much. But.
All right, next one. Let's go. Love or Matt Stafford?
Stafford.
Yeah, Stafford.
I think it's closer than you guys are saying. That was a no doubt.
It's definitely close. But
no doubter.
I would take Stafford. I think Stafford would be great on that Packers offense with
play action.
Yeah, the play action. I mean, it's similar to McVay. So obviously, I love Love, but Stafford's great. Yeah.
This one might be a little aggressive and over the top, but Love or Gardner Minshew?
Love. Gardner Minshew's just a guy playing football.
I
don't know.
Come on. Look,
I'll take Love.
This is what I mean. Look beyond like the team's record. Come on, like there's no way Minshew's not doing.
I would take Love.
Team around him too.
No, I'll take Love too, but I think it's closer than you think.
Like I don't know. Steichen is such a good coach. They have a great run game, regardless of who's at back. He has better weapons, and he's still like mid. Like they're winning, but I don't know. It's not like he's like making these crazy throws every week. Love's made way better plays. I don't know.
All right, I got a next one. Let's go to the wide receiver position. Mike Evans, the baseline here. Okay. Mike Evans or Puka Nacua?
Mike Evans.
Evans.
Hall of Famer.
Okay. I'm not saying career wise. I'm saying right now.
Like he's
They both had a great game this past weekend.
Mike Evans just incredibly underrated in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean he had 10,000 or 1,000 yards for the 10th straight season and nobody's talking about it. I completely agree with that. Mike Evans or Brandon Ayuk?
I would take Ayuk.
Evans.
Ayuk.
On this season, I think it's Ayuk. Yeah.
What about you, Evan? Who you take him?
I would take Ayuk as well. I don't know. But he does have a better QB system around him. I mean, he's Baker Mayfield throwing to him.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Last one, Evans or Waddle?
Evans.
That's tough. If Waddle could catch the ball a little bit.
Oh my God, he has bricks on that one play. He
Yeah,
had 60 yards of green grass. I wanted to.
Yeah, I'd probably take Evans just because of that. But I like both of them. Waddle's great.
Can I add one to this that I think's kind of close? That's okay.
Yeah.
Mike Evans or Keenan Allen?
Keenan Allen.
Evans.
Wow.
Yeah,
really?
I'd take Evans.
Mike Evans or Devontae Smith.
I think Keenan's a fantasy merchant. Same with Eckler.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, Eckler. Don't even get me started. I just traded for Eckler. I mean, Jesus.
You guys see that video of him running 13 miles per hour?
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
He looks so slow.
He literally looks like a fullback.
Oh, my God.
He's washed.
Definitely.
He's washed.
All right.
Miles, you think Evans or Smith?
Yeah.
I would probably take I think I would take Smith.
I would too.
Smith had a great game, right?
He did.
Yeah.
He had a great game. He's playing him in fantasy, of course. All right, running back. Gibbs is the baseline. Gibbs or Monty? A little Detroit backfield question. Gibbs or
I got
Monty?
Gibbs.
Talent-wise, I would say Gibbs. Scheme-wise for the Lions, I would say Monty. You know what I'm trying to say?
I think it just depends on the situation they're in.
It's just
the perfect duo, it really is.
It is.
Yeah.
But I don't know. If Gibbs is more talented, Monty's more consistent. It's close. I can't pick one.
All right, Gibbs or Bijan? The games Gibbs has been a RB1. He's gone wild.
I got Bijan.
Yeah.
I don't think Arthur Smith uses him.
Yeah, his situation.
I feel like Bijan in that line situation would be like,
oh my gosh,
he would be insane.
Beautiful. He'd be so good.
All right, we got Gibbs or Pacheco.
Gibbs.
Yeah, I'd probably take Gibbs.
Pacheco.
That's questionable.
Yeah. Pacheco is great. Yeah.
Michael's favorite, Gibbs or Rashad White?
Gibbs.
All right, good. I like it. All right, that's it for that one for me. Let's go. Dog of the week of week 13. Miles threw us a curveball last week with Scott Hansen. Let's see if we get another off-speed pitch. Michael, who do you got?
I have Debo. First performance against the Eagles. Pete, he stood on business. I don't want to be crazy, but come on, to back all that talk with that performance is pretty crazy because there's probably a lot of pressure on him. But he's a great player, and as Miles said, he's extremely valuable to that offense, more than we realized earlier in the season. And 3 touchdowns against the previous best team in the league. Dog of the week.
I have CeeDee Lamb. I said earlier in the season I wasn't sure if he was a certified wide receiver 1 yet. That's when the Cowboys offense wasn't great, but he proved me wrong. He's legitimately insane. The run he's on right now needs to be talked about AJ Brown's 125-yard streak. He's just carrying this offense with Dak.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I got Mike Evans. We kind of talked about it already, but he had an amazing game against the Panthers and just went for 10 straight seasons with 1,000+ yards, which is just insane. I feel like he's easily a Hall of Famer. And, yeah, he did that with an insane game. I feel like he had 7 catches for 162 and a touchdown. And he was just pretty dominant in that game. So
that's great.
Yeah.
I got not only as the player, but I got Tyreek Hill as the choreographer, as in 156 yards, pretty much all at half. He only played 3 quarters, or just over 3 quarters. I got him as a player, and then the roller coaster. Geez, that was funny.
Yeah.
I found that amusing. I saw the Hard Knocks trailer, showed him coming up with the idea and then practicing it. So, throw a little off-speed pitch change up over there, but let's go into week 14. Switch it up a little bit. Not only fancy player of the week, but sleeper fancy player of the week has to be a projection of under 10. So not the most common players that we've been saying recently. Michael, start us off.
I have Cole Kmet against.
Oh my God, that was literally mine too.
No way.
Yes.
I think Detroit's defense is bad. I'm a Detroit hater. And I just their linebackers they missed on Jack Campbell in the first round. So I think they're gonna struggle to guard a pretty underrated tight end. I would say. I mean, Cole Kmet's pretty solid, and I think the Bears' offense will be able to move the ball, so more opportunities for Kmet.
So I'm gonna switch my pick to Darnell Mooney. The Lions' defense is just terrible.
Yeah,
like straight up terrible. And the Bears have looked compatible. You know, they put up like 30 something points, 24 points versus the Lions a few weeks ago.
Yeah, that was the game. They gave the Lions a scare.
I know we're not mentioning this, but the Lions stock is definitely dropping. And I was thinking about this today. The comparison I have with the Lions this year is the Vikings last year. I know the Lions aren't playing like crazy close games like the Vikings were, but
they're better. They're worse than their record shows. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think they're going to lose in the first round.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's it.
I didn't see the projection for him, but I took Brandon Cooks. I don't know if he's probably around 10, I would say.
10.
Yeah. He's had a touchdown in the past 2 weeks, and I mean, 5 targets and 4 targets the past 2 games. Not amazing, but I think against the Eagles secondary, he could easily go for like 15 plus points. I think.
Of course you did. I got Chuba Hubbard, the new running back 1 in Carolina against the Saints. Steve, that I mean, early in the game, it looked like it was going to be an absolute blowout. The Lions were just doing whatever they want on the ground through the air, but Monty Gibbs went well on that first drive, second drive, so. He's had a touchdown in both games. He's averaging about 20 points the past 2 games. He has an 8-point projection, so I think he goes over that 8, and he's a bit of a sleeper in my eyes. Let's go looking into Week 14 a little more. Let's pick a couple. We got 4 decent games. Seahawks, Niners. I don't really see anyone taking the Seahawks, but can we all agree Niners? I mean, I feel like we've talked about them enough.
Yeah.
We always do the Seahawks, and they always lose.
Yeah.
All right, next one. Bills at Chiefs. Better game than expected in my eyes, but what do we got, Michael? You can go first.
Yeah, I'll take the Bills in this one. The Chiefs didn't look anything special against the Packers. I've kind of fallen off the Chiefs hype train as well.
Time.
Yeah, I mean they're just it's hard for Mahomes to do anything. It really is. He I mean kind of threw the game with that pick to Nixon. Like he's not playing his best ball, that's for sure. And then the offensive around him is pretty bad. And then the defensively, they didn't look that great against. They were banged up, but they didn't look great against the Packers. So I think the Bills' offense looked like they moved the ball against a bad Eagles defense. So if the Chiefs' defense isn't playing up to standard, they'll be able to do the same.
The ball. Yep.
Yeah, I'm also taking the Bills. Like I'm officially concerned about the Chiefs, like in the playoffs too.
Yeah.
Mahomes is playing subpar, as Michael said, and also I know Kelsey's like top 5 in every tight end stat, but he's not playing like what we expect.
He definitely lost a step.
Yeah. I mean, like I don't think this is gonna happen, but he said he could possibly retire after the season due to injuries and just all that. I mean, last night he had 4 receptions for 81 yards, which is good for a tight end, but like he needs to go back to what he was the last 5 years.
And they were all like
I also think just the state of the Chiefs, he needs to pick up some slack. I mean, for the wide receiver group, he has to carry a little more of a load, and he's just not doing that, which isn't his fault. Don't get me wrong.
I do want to add like it's kind of getting easier to play the Chiefs offense now because you could just bracket Kelsey and nobody else can do anything.
For sure.
That's exactly what the Eagles did on that MVS drop. Kelsey was triple teamed, left MVS wide open, and they just can't get the job done.
I mean, there was another play in the red zone where he was triple teamed and they gave it to Justin Watson or whoever it was. Yeah. But yeah, it's getting harder for him due to the lack of wide receiver. I completely see what you mean.
Yeah, I got the Bills as well. Chiefs have just looked pretty bad recently, and I feel like the Bills have like more to play for. Like they're just trying to make it into the playoffs. Like Chiefs have been on a pretty bad losing streak, so I think their offense will be able to play well, even though the Chiefs' defense is pretty good. Uh, but I feel like Mahomes will this will be a little bit of like a step back from the defenses he's been playing, and I feel like he'll be able to have a better game than usual. But I still think the Bills will be able to handle him.
I got the Chiefs just because they're at home. December football in Arrowhead. I think Mahomes and Andy Reid cook something up. I still don't really trust the Bills defensively. I know the Chiefs' offense isn't all that, but I don't know. I just trust Mahomes more than Allen. I know the wide receiver group. We all know the same stuff. We're saying the same stuff every week. Same narrative, same rhetoric every week with the Chiefs. But I think they get it done. I understand. I see what you mean when they have more to play for, but the one seed's becoming more and more important for them just because they can't really. I mean, Green Bay is a great environment if they have to go to Baltimore or I mean, I don't want to say Miami's the biggest whatever, but I mean, Jacksonville, Cincy's not making it. Buffalo, same. You know what I'm trying to say. The home field's becoming more and more important for them. So, next one, big game, division leader out of this win. No, winner of this game gets the division lead. Eagles, Cowboys, maybe. Am I right?
I think so.
Right?
I don't know. I don't know how all the tiebreakers are working, but they would have the same record.
Same record. Big game. Big game. Miles, you start us off, Eagles guy.
Yeah, I got the Eagles, even though the Cowboys are home. I feel like the Eagles, this Eagles team, is a lot better when they're underdogs, and when they're kind of counted out. They're last game they just got embarrassed, and I feel like they're gonna try and prove everyone wrong this game. I think Hurts will be able to play really well against a questionable Cowboys defense. Hopefully, we have Goddard back, who's one of Hurts's top targets. We haven't been able to use tight ends at all the past couple weeks,
Yeah.
so it'd be good to have Goddard back. I don't know if Shaq Leonard will play, but if we get him, that would be a big help. Obviously, our secondary has to play much better because CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Cooks are a pretty good duo. So, but I think if the Cowboys, if they can take advantage of that Eagles secondary, I wouldn't be surprised if they run away with that game. But I'll take the Eagles.
Yeah, I also have the Eagles in this game. I'm just mostly excited to see Dak Prescott play in this type of situation because, Sunday Night Football, Eagles, Cowboys, it's going to be, the most watched game of the season. And I know the Cowboys have had, a decent amount of primetime games. They have, the Thanksgiving game. But it's versus the Commanders. That's nothing impressive. And the last time, I mean, I know the Niners defense is, way better than the Eagles, but the last time Dak really played a good team was the Niners. I know that was a long time ago, but that was really embarrassing for them. So maybe if they win Sunday, we could start to say they actually have a chance in the playoffs, and they're not going to repeat what they've been doing.
Yeah, these two teams have become pretty similar in that their defenses are pretty bad and their offenses are really good. So it's going to be interesting to watch. So at that point, I think it comes down to quarterback play. Whoever could dice up the defense better, and I'll take Dak. I'll take the Cowboys at home. I think that Eagles secondary it's bad, and we talked about CD, we talked about Dak, and I think they're going to be able to put up they're going to be able to outshoot out the Eagles.
I have the Cowboys as well. You pretty much said it. The defenses are becoming pretty lackluster to say the least, and I think it comes down to who has the ball last. And I think the Cowboys get it done. I think Dak's playing a decent amount better than Hurts, in my opinion, right now. He's just slinging the ball against a suspect Eagles secondary, which I mean, if they don't fix that, they're they're meat. They're done. But Cowboys all the way. They get the big win in prime time. I think they squashed the question of if they can beat good teams. So last one, maybe not the best game, but we got a Packers and a Giants fan, so we have to pick it. Packers Giants Monday Night Football. Matt, you start us off. Giants guy.
That's Monday Night Football game. That's painful.
Dolphins are Monday Night Football too.
There's a second game, yeah.
Dolphins Titans.
I'm taking the Packers. They're just a better team. I'm not sure if Tyrod Taylor is going to play. He's questionable, but just hoping Tommy DeVito plays. Just because first off, I think he gives them the worst chance to win, which is better for draft picks, and also the team is just more fun with Tommy DeVito. Just from a I don't know watching standpoint, he's a New Jersey guy. It's not like a boring, veteran quarterback who's been a backup. The Giants, it's like kind of been fun to watch with Tommy DeVito. You don't know what to expect, and he's exceeded our expectations. But Jordan Love and the Packers are just way better overall.
Yeah, I'll be at this one, and I'm going to take the Packers. I think the Jordan Love showed he can handle pressure really well against the Chiefs. The Chiefs are a team that send a lot of blitzes, and he was successful against that. We know Wink Martindale is not afraid to send like 0 blitzes. So I think if he could maintain that success against the blitz, then it's going to be a big day for the Packers offense. And then on defense, I mean, we just did a pretty good job stopping Mahomes. So why can't we stop DeVito and or whoever's playing quarterback? I think I'm actually surprised the spread is only like 6.5. I think we should cover that, I guess, because the Giants are home. But Packers are a weird team, a team to watch, and I think they win this one.
Yeah, I got the Packers as well. They've obviously looked really good the past couple weeks, beating the Chiefs also. Giants obviously one of the bottom teams in the league, so I don't think this will be close at all. But I do hope the Giants win because I do not want to see Drake May or Caleb Williams 2 times a year.
Fair enough.
Yeah, fair enough. I got the Cowboys, but I think it'll be closer than you guys are saying. I mean, the Packers lost to the Matt Canada-led Steelers, so I understand that Jordan Love's hitting his stride, defense is hitting their stride, stop Mahomes. I mean, if Tommy Cutlets dices them up, then that's a completely different conversation to have. Mahomes couldn't, but I don't know. I don't really know if it's going to be the most interesting of games, but give me the Packers. Yeah, anything else we want to add? I think that'll do it.
Nope.
Yeah, I mean, interesting week ahead. It'll tell us a lot. College football, very controversial right now. NFL's hitting its stride. Come down the last few weeks. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you next time.